Chesterfield County, Mr. Carroll.
I'm here.
Enrico County, Mr. Thornton.
Présent.
Newgate County, Ms. Page. Powhatan County, Mr. Byerly. And City of Richmond, Mayor Stoney.
Here.
Thank you. That concludes the roll call for attendance, and we do have a quorum.
A quorum is confirmed, and we will now move on to the rest of the agenda into the administration side. First, item 1, confirmation of member participation from a remote location. Mr. Parsons, are there any member requests to participate remotely?
No, sir.
There are no requests to participate remotely, therefore we'll move on. And then we'll move on to item 2, the consideration of minutes to the action meeting agenda. I have no changes. Are there any suggested changes to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 3, the approval of the June 14th and August 9th, 2023 CVTA Finance Committee meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. The motion is approved. Minutes are approved. Item 4 is our open public comment period. Ms. Firestone or Mr. Parsons, do we have any public comments via email or via online?
We do not, sir.
Seeing none, we'll move on to item 5, the chairman's report. Today, we hope to designate a chair. That's my report for today. We hope to designate a chair, so I have no report.
Well said.
We're gonna move on to item 6, the activities report, Mr. Parsons and Ms. Moore-Clark. Mr. Parsons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The item 6A is the financial activities and investment reports found on page 11 in your agenda packet. The financial activities report is for the fiscal year ended June 30th, and it is activities through July 31st, 23, which is the April accrual. As you recall, we're a couple months behind. The lifetime to date is always the interesting number to look at from my perspective, and you can see the payments out to GRTC through July 30th is just over $80 million. The regional fund has collected $187.3 million, and then the local distributions total $267.7 million. So we are continuing to move forward in a positive trend, and look forward to that action continuing into fiscal year 24.
Make me put my glasses on for that.
The investment report is following for July 2023, and the interest earnings at the bottom of the page for FY24 are just under $550,000 in interest for July 2023.
Any questions for Mr. Parsons? Mr. Parsons, anything further?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Moore-Clark.
Thank you. Good morning. Diana Moore-Clark here, CVTA TAC Chair. I'll be giving an update on our 2 fall line working group meetings. They were held in July and in August. We met both of those months. We reviewed the fall line trail wayfinding plan. That's the wayfinding plan that the authority is paying for, and we were able to reach a consensus on an option. There were 3 options provided by the consultants, and so we were able to get to one option of what that wayfinding design and structure should look like for different elements across the trail. And then we reviewed a preliminary placement plan for the entire corridor. Based on our recent meeting, we may have to do that placement in smaller segments because of different implementation phases of the localities, but it is still moving along. We did see that there may be some gaps in funding for actual implementation of the wayfinding, but that's something I think we'll address at a later time. And then we did hear, as you did earlier, some of you, the update from VDOT on the design build process for the Chesterfield segments. I think design Build 1 is moving along nicely, and Design Build 2, they have selected their preferred potential crossings due to the cultural resources. So we're looking to hear back on how that will move forward for VDOT. An update on our August 14th Technical Advisory Committee meeting. We have recommended, which you'll see today for approval, the FY23 annual certifications. These are the annual certifications on the dollars spent for local CVTA dollars. And also along with that was the quarterly reporting, which lines up for the year, all of the 4 quarters that the localities have been submitting. So you'll be reviewing that recommendation from TAC for approval. The other item that we discussed was the FY24 local allocation plan. Again, this is a plan that the localities submit on their intent to spend the upcoming year's dollars. So this is what the localities submitted on what they would be spending their local dollars on. Will be, I think is in the agenda as well, that you can take note of that. Another item we did was the VDOT. We talked about this CVTA standard projects agreement. We may have been able to find a streamlined process for VDOT and their SPA to match those of Chesterfield, Goochland, Hanover, New Kent, and Richmond, as they have, maybe administering projects. And just a note to our localities, if you do have any SPA requests for signatures, those will be due by Monday, September the 11th, in order to be included in the September 29th full body meeting for approval. Lastly, we reviewed the draft schedule. This is also in your agenda today. Again, our application period for CVTA is open. It opened on September the 1st and will close at the end of this month. And what we also, our newly appointed executive director, also initiate a process for the localities to submit candidate projects. And he's building a database to be able to look at that for regional project cycles. So we are looking to put in some visioning and some other projects into this candidate project database, which we think will be helpful for the authority. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Ms. Moore-Clark, thank you for the updates. Are there any questions for Ms. Moore-Clark? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. Item 7 is the election of the FY24 CVTA Finance Committee Chair and Vice Chair. First, let me state that there is, I think we spoke about it in a previous meeting, a rotation schedule that is in place. We'll have Powhatan County and the town of Ashland will be the 2 additional localities on the Finance Committee for fiscal year 2024. We do have 2 open seats for the chair and vice chair. It's my recommendation that Ms. Patricia Page serve as the chair of the Finance Committee and that Mr. Carroll serve as the vice chair of the Finance Committee. It's been seconded. Any discussion? Do we need a roll call vote for this? Wouldn't hurt.
Mr. Chair, if I just comment one thing before
Yeah.
we go. I mean, I think we've all spoke with Ms. Page, and she has a desire to participate in this committee and in this capacity, and I have confidence that she should be able to do that in the future, but for some reason she can't, and as in the vice chair role, I will make sure that I step up to take care of the needs of the CVTA Finance Committee.
And we all know that Mr. Thornton will be terming out as a member of the Board of Supervisors in Henrico County at the end of this year. And we will have a new member from Henrico County on this committee at the beginning of 2024 as well. So a lot of changes afoot. Any more comments? Ms. Fires.
Mr. Carroll,
Aye.
Mr. Thornton? And Mayor Stone?
Aye.
The motion carries.
Well, congratulations to Ms. Page and Mr. Carroll. Ms. Page is absent today, and since Ms. Page is absent, Mr. Carroll, as the vice chair, will continue to conduct the remaining parts of the agenda. Sound good?
Yes, sir. It's there, right there.
Okay.
Just,
Don't
just in
musical
case I
chairs.
need the gavel for any reason. Pass that
May I have
down.
to gavel somebody out?
I hope not. We haven't had to do it for 3 years, and I don't think we're gonna ever need to do that. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to, the next agenda item is the bond council RFP. That's on page 14 of your agenda. Mr. Gregory.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Before you is the RFP for bond counsel for the CVTA, the requested action to recommend to the full authority authorization for issuance of the RFP, so that we can stay on track that you all, that the full body set earlier this year. As you recall, you have seen this at least twice before, probably more than that. An RFP was issued 2 years ago for this purpose, but you all decided at that time to not take any action on it. You directed staff to redo the RFP, now that the authority seems poised or ready to enter into this next stage. So we did that. This was before you at your last finance committee meeting, but there was not a quorum, so you could not take this action at that time. It's back before you today, and we request action. Again, you've seen it before, so I won't go into detail about it, unless you all have questions. But it's basically just a request for proposals for bond counsel, for bond lawyers out there in the state and community to propose to provide those services to the body.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Members,
Yes, sir.
any questions? Not seeing any questions, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion's made and seconded, forwarded to the full committee for consideration. Any other discussion? Not seeing any, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. CVTA, regional project applications, review current allocation plan, page 51, Mr. Parsons.
Yes, sir, thank you. The item on page 51 is a larger piece of paper. It is a table, a two-page table. At the top right, it says CVTA allocations FY21 to FY28. This is going to be hopefully a regular item for consideration by the Finance Committee as well as the full authority. You can see that this was acted on in December of 2022, following the second round of regional funding awards, funding allocations. And this is basically our tracking sheet for all of the projects that were approved for regional funding and when the funds are identified to be applied to those projects. This has been developed in coordination with ATTAC to understand the different phases of project development, whether that's planning and engineering, purchase of right-of-way, construction, and this is our guide as staff to continue moving forward and make sure that those funds are available and ready when the projects need them. So this is something that is timely now because we, as Ms. Clark mentioned, we opened the third round of regional funding applications in the month of September. That window will close for applications to be submitted on the 29th. And we are anticipating an update to this allocations plan following the determination of the third round of regional project awards. So we will be able to continue this past FY28 into FY29 and I believe FY30 for the third round of funding. And this will keep things moving and we'll be able to keep those projects updated and moving forward in coordination with each member jurisdiction and the project agreements that are being considered by the authority so that all of these funds are distributed adequately to make sure the projects are supported. This is an information item. The other thing I wanted to highlight under this item is the next page. which is a roadmap document that we put together to guide the project application cycle for this third round. So it basically goes from month to month between now and February, to show the responsibilities and the items for consideration by both the technical committee, the finance committee, as well as the full authority. And it also shows the different tasks that staff is going to be working on between each of the 4 phases of project application review. So between project submission, which is where we are now, through screening and scoring, prioritization, and then the final allocation decisions, which are coming back to for the full authority to take action on. So this is a resource, and we're going to continue to promote this and share it with the TAC and other interested parties as we move through this third window of applications. So Mr. Chair, that's the update on item 9 for the third round of project applications.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I did have a question. I wanted a question for Mr. Parsons regarding the regional applications. We are funding projects based on PAYGO, the PAYGO model, I think consists of 2 years. Or is it about 120 million, 140 million?
We have moved forward in setting up this application cycle based on the current PAYGO model that the authority is following.
Okay.
We can certainly adjust that if decisions are made during that next 2-year window to go in another direction, which would actually increase the available funding most likely. So that would provide some more flexibility.
Jim,
Ms. Thornton.
I reiterate one of my concerns is that sometime in the past, we did think about this whole notion of making sure that as we structure things, the CVTA is doing very well right now, but how to protect itself from becoming a cash cow. So I think, this August committee, we keep that in mind, and other agencies that have been giving funding, let's not let them relegate everything to us. I think that's very important. So something I just share as a thing of numbers against the August committee.
I will say that a comment that I have relating to this is along with what you're saying. And I think it's important that we had made the decision, I think, the last meeting, well, actually, I don't think we could do it at the last meeting because we didn't have a forum, to include the member of the CTB as an addition to the finance committee. And I think that's important because the member of the CTB certainly has a lot of influence on what the CTB does when they're awarding funding. I'll ask Mr. Berry, did we approve that already or no?
I believe you did.
Okay.
As guidance document number 1 earlier this year, I think it was in June.
Did we notify them?
Yes.
Okay, so they know they have an opportunity either to dial in or come in person. But I think it's important for that member of the CTB to be here and have input as to what's going on so that we don't necessarily become the cash cow and that we understand that we're putting monies regionally toward regional projects to hopefully score well and get monies through these other pots that are available. And I think it's important to make sure that the CTB member is engaged with what we're doing. So I would hope that we can reach out to them again and make sure that in the future we know that they are aware of when the finance committee is meeting, so they're not participating.
And just to note that the CTB member should be included as an ex officio non-voting advisory member.
Absolutely correct. All right. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, to that point, I have had actually multiple opportunities to meet with Mr. Davis.
Good.
And he is excited about being an active member of the CVTA. I think he has a conflict at our 29th meeting, but he expects to be
Excellent. Anything else? Okay, moving on, 2023 annual certification, 2024 local allocation, page 54.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a regular annual requirement. I wanted to provide, first of all, copies of all of the signed certifications from each locality member, starting on page 54, certifying that funds expended through local CVTA revenues were used for the purposes prescribed by the Code of Virginia. So that information is in the packet.
And we have all 9.
We have all 9.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So that is in the packet for action, for recommendation. I also wanted to provide, as Ms. Clark mentioned, one more spreadsheet, which shows the backing information, as you might want to say, for the certifications. That shows the final quarterly report for FY23, showing for each jurisdiction that expended CVTA local dollars, what those funds went towards, whether that was staff or project development or programs or other kinds of transportation needs. So this is all kind of a package to prove that the CVTA local dollars were used for their intended purpose. So the action requested is to recommend full authority approval of the FY23 annual certifications and the FY24 local allocation.
Does anybody have any questions on the documents as presented? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. Those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Vice Chair. Well, we went through that rather quickly. So CBT, this might be a record, by the way. CBTA Finance Committee members, anybody have any comments? I'll just say, just for me briefly, thank you for your vote of confidence and allowing me to serve in the vice chair capacity. Look forward to, once again, working together with everyone to do the great things that we've been able to do for the region with this transportation organization. And I constantly, like many of you, are out in the community talking with people, letting them know what the CVTA is, what they're doing, and how this is making a difference in the region for transportation. So, thank you. All right, so our next meeting of the finance will be on October the 11th, 2023, right here. And if there's no other comments from any of the members, we will stand adjourned.